Welcome back to the Sioux City Show. My name is Taylor Grote. I'm hosting this thing. Here at the studio today with me, I have Josh Berendes. Josh is a content creator originally from Remsen, Iowa, who has
You may not have heard of it.
may not have heard of Remsen, but hopefully if you're in Sioux City, you've heard of it a little bit. Josh has been making video content and doing exciting things with video for the last 3 years, 4 years?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Wow.
5 years.
And I think that he has a lot of valuable insight to bring if you're trying to do something in the creative industry and also branch out outside of Sioux City with it. So Josh, go ahead and get into your story a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm from Remsen, and I live currently in...
Don't worry about the camera, you're all right.
Currently live in Orlando, but I freelance full-time. I'm kind of a one-man band, so when people ask me what I do, it's always kind of like, well, how do I say this? Because I do about 10 different things. But yeah, I freelance full-time. I work on anything from short films. Like last year, I was making fly fishing films. I was shooting for EA Sports. I was filming artists at Red Rocks. Kind of do a little bit of everything. I typically also do larger productions where I'm just a camera operator. I really like those gigs because I'm not doing the pitching, I'm not doing negotiating, producing. I'm showing up with my camera, getting the footage, and passing it off to someone else. That's kind of what I really want to start doing more of. It's less, work on the back end.
Yeah. Go ahead and pick your mic up just a little bit for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that a hurdle for a lot of people is they see somebody like you who's originally from the Northwest Iowa area, and then you move out to Denver and you're doing really cool shoots for REI and stuff like that. And just the perception of seeing it through Instagram. And a lot of people are seeing step 50 of what's going to be a 100-step process. So, and they go, oh, well, I want to do that. I'm into cameras. I want to go do that. But I think that they miss your whole origin of how you got to that point. So what did that look like? What was the actual career progression?
Yeah. So, once I graduated from UNI, I was like, I want to move to a big city, and I got my degree, blah blah blah. I'm ready to go. The reality was, I had to jump through, like you said, about 50 hoops to make that happen. And I moved out to Denver, and I wasn't really ready to move out to Denver, but you're never really getting ready to move. I didn't have a bunch of money saved up. I didn't have as much work in my portfolio as I wanted. But I was like, there's not going to be a right time to make a move. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
I moved out to Denver, and I had no work lined up. I knew Jared, who would I knew I could rely on him and referring me to people and introducing me to people. I had no work lined up. I just went out there because I'm going to make it happen. And it's funny because I'm taking pictures. I'm in the mountains and stuff, blah blah blah. Instagram, great photos, and everyone's messaging me oh my god, I wish I had your life. It must be nice. I'm pulling over on the interstate and duct taping parts of my car together so it doesn't fall off.
Oh yeah.
I'm not and I'm always pretty open about the struggles because I try to make things a reality. I don't try to show people that I have the best life, but I always try and share my failures and whatnot and my struggles to avoid that, because people, it's so easy for them to look on social media and be like, wow, you're crushing it. Well, maybe I'm doing some really cool shit, but I'm still working hard. I'm still working 60 hours a week, and those aren't all billable hours,
Yeah, and we were just talking before this about how people who are hoping to get in this industry will hit us up about wanting to work with us or whatever the case may be, and wanting to work as our second shooter or something. And they generally don't realize that we're still doing the things that they're still not willing to do.
Yeah,
If they want to step right to the I'm getting paid to do cool shoots. You were there when I was doing the Budweiser shoot 3 years ago now or something like that. And it was, it seems it's cool that I got to do the American photo shoot for the state of Iowa on 4th of July, but nobody saw that I was doing it in my spare time. And I think I drove up to Okoboji to go meet up with you and brought my girlfriend with me. And it was I think we drove the 2 hours to get up there. We're up there for about 30 minutes. It started raining, and then tried to snap a few photos, get it all done, and then drove back to Sioux City that night. So, even the cool shoots are still a pain in the ass. I covered the Super Bowl for a company when it was in Minneapolis, and it was the same thing. It was like, that was an unpaid, it was purely like a clout photo shoot or a clout video shoot. And yeah, like driving to Minneapolis, having to find somewhere to stay. I'm not getting paid. I'm like last second getting texted to show up to these events, trying to like figure out how to get in there with no connections and all that stuff. And yeah, and it's like none of it's really ever easy, or like it's not, you know, people always say like, oh, you're passionate about your work though. And it's like, yeah, I am, but like how far does the passion carry you through on 16-hour days?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was interesting because like I moved out to Denver, and that first, it's like a typical, like it's a movie or a book you read. Like someone moves to the big city, they're trying to launch their career, car breaks down. My AC went out. It was midsummer. AC went out. First week I moved there, I went 2 summers with no AC. I would drive the client, like I would, and like I said, I was broke when I moved out there. I was on Instagram, Twitter, like Reddit, everything, researching who's all in the area, who's doing what. I would make then a spreadsheet of who's who, what are they doing, where are they located, what's compatibility with me. I would hit them up. I would figure out where their studio is and be like, hey, I would make things as easy as possible for them to meet up with me. So I'd be like, okay, you're in this part of Denver. I would find a coffee shop where I knew was close to where they worked, so they didn't have to go much out of their way to meet up with me. And I would reach out, hey, you know, I'm new to town, blah, blah, blah. I would like to meet up with you. I would literally have to have ice in my cup in my car because I have no AC, and it's leather seats, and it's like 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And I would have to bring an extra shirt with me to change into, because I would usually sweat through my shirt. And then I would buy these people like coffee or tea. And I would do that. Like, that's my first like 3 weeks of out there. Every day was scheduled, like meeting with people, driving across town to meet up with people.
Yeah.
And people would be like, yeah, are you free? What's your next week look like? I look at my calendar and be like, I literally have nothing planned. But I'd be like, how's your Wednesday work? Like I could probably do Wednesday morning or Thursday afternoon. But in all reality, I was wide open.
Yeah. I feel like every entrepreneur has that story where it's like you're down to your last like $25 and you're at a client shoot, and like the key to getting the shoot is to pay like for their coffee. And it's like, you start doing the math on, okay, if you get a scone and a coffee, water's good for me, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, most people don't see that side of things. And like I said, people were like texting me like, oh my God, your life is so nice. And I'm like, well, you know, it's the life I am willing to make it, and I'm having a great time. You know, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But if you had to do this, you would not be saying my life is so great and it must be nice.
Yeah. Like, they weren't there to put the utilities on the credit card for a month because like there was literally no money for the utilities. And or the midnight to 3 a.m. Uber driving because you had bills to cover the next week and stuff like that. So yeah. So like, what's your favorite shoot that you've done to date?
Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one just because, like I said, I do so many different things. So it's like, this was cool about this shoot or this was cool about that shoot. I would say the first thing that pops to mind was like last year doing, it was for EA Sports, their pre-Super Bowl party. And anytime I work with them, it's always super last minute. So they hit me up like a week before the Super Bowl. And I didn't even know the Super Bowl was in Miami at the time because I really kind of quit watching football.
Yep.
And I was telling some people, I'm like, yeah, I'm going down to Miami to do this like party for EA Sports. Like, oh man, you're gonna be down there for the Super Bowl. Like, and I was like, wait, what? I was like, whoa. I was like, oh damn, this is for the Super Bowl. Yeah. But anyways, it was a 1-day shoot. And basically what EA does, they have a bunch of like celebrities come out. So there's like Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. I had to follow around a former NFL player, and he's just kind of like a host of the show. So you know, I was like filming with like a bunch of like celebrities, influencers, gamers, professional athletes. And the whole day they have an event of like this pre-Super Bowl show, and at the end it's like DJ Khaled, Lil Wayne, Migos. So it was like 12 hours of filming, and I'm just running around like crazy all day long.
Yep.
And it was really cool because it's really cool to see that side of sport, like of gaming, because I don't game.
Yeah. So
like show up and see like a streamer, and then everyone's like, oh my God, like it's so and so, and they're like,
right.
You know, it's really interesting, and that's like one of the coolest things about like filming is like you're introduced to all these different worlds that you normally wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like I know nothing about fly fishing, but I went to Alaska on the fly fishing trip, and then went on like a 5-day rafting trip, like through whitewater, and like I would know nothing about that world if I had not had a camera to like see what it's about.
Yeah.
But that EA shoot was definitely like, it was really, I mean, it's just really cool.
Sometimes I feel bad about like the amount of football players and stuff that I've been around because I just don't care about football at all.
Yeah.
So like at the Super Bowl pre-party, my dad texted me, I think when I was up there, and I listed off like the people that I was actually shooting that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, holy shit, get his autograph. What's he like? What's he like? I'm like, I don't know these people at all. And like, to me, like they were just people that I was shooting for video that day. And
exactly.
yeah. And like, meanwhile, you know, a bunch of people who are really into sports would have killed for that opportunity.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like when I talk like Shrades or Arnie, like my best friends who are like into sports, I'm like, this is who I was with, or I mispronounce their name. Or, like, I think he plays for this. And they're like, what? And yeah. Like, I mean, same thing when I was on like that fly fishing trip. Like these people, apparently people are like well known across the country for fly fishing. Like never would have known that.
Yeah.
But they're like, wait, you were with that guy? I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
Same with like athletes like that. Like, I just don't know.
Meanwhile, if you told like, if somebody told you like, oh yeah, I'm on the shoot with Peter McKinnon, you'd be like, what? And the average person would be like, I had no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But going back to that EA, and you know, just to show people like the hustle it takes to like try and just like work in this industry, like my job was to strictly film the content. I film the content, upload it to Google Drive. EA gets all the content, and then all the influencers and celebrities or whatever who are like sponsored by EA also get that footage to use however they want. So there's no editing involved.
Oh, nice.
But what I did is on the flight, the next day I had an extra day in Miami, so I went around Miami, shoot some B-roll, so they could have at least some B-roll footage of like Miami. Because like these YouTubers are, you know, they're making a video with my content for their YouTube channel about the event, but everyone wants B-roll of like the location.
Yep.
So I went out the next day and like did like 4 hours of filming, some sightseeing, and then on the plane ride home back to Colorado, I edited a video on the plane, in the airport, on the plane, and on the Uber back from the airport to my house. And then by that time, the video was done. I gave it to them. Didn't have to do that at all. Didn't get paid to do that at all.
Yep.
EA then took that video and was like, oh my God, this is great. You know, they had a couple little tweaks to make. Can we post this? And then they posted it on their channel on multiple different platforms.
Hell yeah.
And then, you know, you become the guy who's like willing to go above and beyond for a client. And they remember that.
Yep.
And I've gotten more gigs with them. You know, I don't necessarily work with EA. It's with an agency that EA hires, and then they work with through me. But, you know, because when the pandemic hit and everyone's staying at home, I got a call at 11:30 on a Sunday night. We're like, hey, Josh, like we need like these videos edited, like with a tight turnaround. Like you're the first person we thought of. I would not have been the first person they thought of if I hadn't put in the extra work to show them what I can do for them and that I'm willing to work for them.
Hell yeah. And that's like the key to it all, really, is just being like we talked about earlier, the top of mind, like the first person that when a client thinks of like who's going to be able to take care of this and like make it be as seamless as possible for us, you want to be that name. Yeah,
totally. And you know, they call me 11:30 on a Sunday night. Hey, we need 10 videos edited by 8 a.m.
Damn.
And then they're like, it's going to be a couple hours until we can give you the assets. So, I mean, it was 11:30. I didn't get the assets until after 1 a.m.
Damn.
And I was up all night. I got them to them at 7:45 a.m.
Damn. I'm very impressed with that. I
was impressed with that as well.
Yeah. That's like a perfect example of like what the work really takes. And I think that like, you know, a lot of people who are listening to this, I believe are kids from Sioux City who are like in my or your position.
Totally.
Where we were 10 years ago, I guess now, but trying to figure out how to do the thing.
Right.
So I know from my personal experience, which we can talk about in a little bit, but like, what's your experience on like finding clients? Like how do you go about finding clients, and what's the best way for you to find clients?
So yeah, I'll give you advice on when I moved to Denver on like what I did is I looked for people who were entrepreneurs or who were like running their own business I found a co-working space. I found like all these people in this co-working space have their own small business, and everyone needs video production there. So I showed up there, and I was the guy who shoots videos. Like they're like, oh, like I need videos, I need videos. So it's really placing yourself around people who are in need of what you do. But it's also like putting in the effort to do free work up front, to show people like what you can do. Like, for instance, I know this company they don't have enough money to hire me, but I know for a fact, because I've researched them, that they have very, very well connections with big brands that I do want to work for. So I do, some free work for them, and they're cool people. And like we said, I just enjoy helping other people who are in their pursuit of their passion.
Yeah.
I get a joy out of that. So, I help them out, and then all of a sudden, they're kind of throwing my name to this big brand. Next thing you know, I'm working with this big brand, all because I did the research up front, to try and, weasel your way in there.
Yeah.
Because you got to think like, and, I think the biggest thing that people do that's wrong is like they just reach out to people and be like, hey,
I do videos.
I do video. Here's my website. Would love to work with. It's like, that's like connecting. That's like networking, I guess I would say. But it's more about like building a relationship.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, like, this is who I am. I see you're doing this. If you ever need like help with like a quick photo shoot or whatnot, like I'd love just to help you out, or like let's meet up and grab some coffee and like hang out face to face.
Yeah.
I'm not just a person behind a screen.
Yep.
And that's how you gotta treat people too. That's not always like possible and ideal. Because sometimes you reach out to people in different cities, but like, you gotta try and treat people as people.
Right. Right. And I'd say like that you touched on it there, like is perfectly it. It's just reaching out to people has almost done nothing for me. Like, going to a business and being like, hey, I think my content would work perfectly for your business. Would you like to like set up a time to meet? That kind of stuff never really goes anywhere for me. I think I had one time where I saw a client was hiring like a part-time videographer for their office, and I applied for the job, went down there and pitched them on using Honeywave. I got called in for the interview and was like, hey, actually I run a video company and I'd love to like just show you what we can do for you on a retainer basis. I think that was the one time I've ever closed a deal that was like a cold outreach like that. Yeah. But 90% of it for me has just been like forming good relationships with different companies and different, like the actual, I guess, gatekeepers in Sioux City, and having them, like anybody who goes to them about something, they always go, oh, Taylor Grote and Honeywave will do it for you. So totally. Yeah, that's gone so much farther than cold outreach.
Yeah. I'd say the most times I've been able to land a job or get a job indirectly because of something isn't because I reached out to someone and said, hey, I'm looking for this. Can you help me out? It's been, hey, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Like people were always, people who always reach out to others saying like, hey, I would like a job. I would like to do this for you and stuff like that. Let me rephrase that.
No, it's all right.
You know what I mean? I mean, like people are always say, hey, I want a job. Yeah. But they're not saying, hey, I would want a job, but I want to work for you for free. Or I want to show up and like kind of shoot some BTS for you. Do you need any editing? Exactly. Like you offer something. You don't say, hey, I need this. You make it about them.
Exactly. And
nailed that. That's what I was trying to say.
I think that you like also touched on, just from having like a more established business and having employees and all that, and having a storefront, that type of deal, it opens me up to, I get so many businessy kind of slide ins. Like I'm, similar to any small business in the town would experience, but it's like constantly I'm getting emailed by people trying to sell me something or get me to hire them for this job or whatever.
People asking you a lot.
Yeah.
People are asking you for a lot.
I tell people all the time, I don't remember the last time that I picked up my phone and asked somebody to do something for me, but I get 15 calls a day that are people asking me to do something for them.
Totally. Hey, can you edit this for like, or even like if it's like people who are like, hey, I have these photos. Like at one time I had this girl who I used to like party with in college. I think she's an awesome person. We haven't really talked much because we live in different sides of the country, but like she's a cool person.
Yep.
Like she goes, hey, I took like these 20 pictures on my like phone. Can you edit them for me? Like, I was like, It's
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
sounds like kind of like I'm being an ass, but like I get asked for that stuff all the time,
Right.
all the time.
Right. And
And I'm
people
glad
don't.
to help out my friends and my family and like people who are like, like only in the business or like starting out, but like I can't help everyone.
Yeah.
Like
So
I
keep that in mind when you're reaching out to somebody,
Yeah.
and be the breath of fresh air who comes to them and goes, even if that's somebody that you want to work with, that you want to have hire you in the future, if you take 4 hours of one day and offer to do BTS shoots, or you offer to create like a behind the scenes video of like their music video shoot or anything like that, take that opportunity, because I know in my situation or in most people's situation who is in our position, we're going to generally pay them some money. Like I'm the type of dude, I don't like people showing up and working for me for free. So I generally pay them money, or at least like treat them to a nice dinner, get dinner for the set.
That's nice because not everyone does that.
Yeah.
So that's,
Like I really try to be a gentleman about it, because I'm so recently in that shitty hustle that like, I really feel like I can put myself in the person's shoes doing free work for me for pretty easily. But like when you show up to those shoots, if you reach out to somebody and they're like, yeah, I'd love for you to shoot BTS at my shoot. When you show up to that, remember that how you do the little things is how you do everything.
Totally.
So the people who I cannot stand a half-ass job. I cannot stand people showing up to like a video shoot or a photo shoot, because I refuse to do it, to half-ass something for a client.
That's how I am too. Yeah.
I find out people are like, oh yeah, I didn't really give a shit about this client because XYZ. And I'm always like, dude, this is way too small of a town to be half-assing it for any client. Totally. Because the second you ruin your name with that client, like you can just count 5 to 10 jobs are gone, because 5 to 10 people are going to reach out to that business and go, hey, what was your experience with Honeywave? Well, they didn't really give a shit. And when people are paying you for a shoot, you got to come with your A game, regardless if it's a $200 shoot or if it's a $10,000 shoot. You want the client to feel like they're getting their money's worth. So like when you show up to work with somebody for free for your first time, you're trying to get your foot in the door, remember that that's how they're judging it, is what I pay for this person to be my second shooter on a client shoot. And your energy that you put into that free shoot is going to determine how that person thinks of you.
Yeah, totally. And going back to people like reaching, if you're just starting out, like reaching out to people, this is like a recent event that just happened. Kid reached out to me. He's in high school. He's going to college for video production. He's gonna be a freshman. He reached out to me and goes, hey, I would like to get a job at the company you used to work for when you were in college. I was like, well, you don't have any experience, but I will still introduce you to my former boss, and you can just meet. Like, he was probably gonna invite you over to the studio, like maybe offer to buy him coffee. Like he'd be great for you just to meet and get on his radar, even though he's not ready to hire you. Like being face to face to him is huge, because like I was that person. I'm like, even if they're not ready to hire me, I would love just to meet them.
Yeah.
And then once you meet them, they're like, okay, this guy's a pretty cool dude. He's maybe kind of a hippie, has long beard and hair, but you get face-to-face contact and you meet someone and you're on top of mind. And then you meet them and like, hey, as you leave the meeting, having coffee or lunch or whatever, you'd say, hey, if you ever need someone to do behind the scenes or like an extra editor or sometime, like that's when you offer your help to them.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to hire you until you have like a couple years of experience or maybe a year of experience. But like it does not hurt getting on their radar before you're ready to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like that's huge. Like so put in perspective, last year I got into 2 international film festivals making these fly fishing films. I filmed for EA Sports. I got featured on Colorado's like #1 news channel for some of my work. And that's not like me like bragging or anything, but I'm still reaching out to people in people's situation who are just starting out. Like I'm reaching out to people who own Reds and do massive productions. And I'm still saying, hey, I would love to get on set with you and shoot some BTS for you, because you're doing way bigger things than I am. Plus, I don't care about getting paid. I want to learn. I want to sit there and watch everything that you're doing and how you're directing the shoot and how you're running the shoot and all these different moving parts. And I'm going to be a sponge.
Yeah.
Like that's my payment.
Right.
And also, you start working with people like that, they're going to throw you a bone eventually. Like, hey, this company reached out to me or they want me to do this shoot, but it's like, it's not worth my time. Like, are you interested in it? And then you're like, hell yeah, I am.
Oh yeah.
Like, and that's how it works.
That in like the amount of jobs I've gotten because exactly that. Like somebody else got hit up for something and it wasn't exactly what they wanted to do, but maybe I was in a situation where it's been a slow month and I got a week open and somebody goes, hey, do you want to do this shoot? Usually it's a wedding, and I'm like,
Totally.
yeah, I'll show up and I guess I'll do your wedding for the day. But it's generally making good impressions is 90% of the game. And when you're reaching out to somebody with a little bit more, I don't want to say skill even, but clout or experience in the industry, somebody who might own a Red or might be doing like 10-person crews out for small production shoots, but you still want to take your career to that level. Or if you're the person who just got their first camera and want to go tag along with somebody doing a music video to see how they do it. When you make that offer to go to coffee or whatever the case may be, make sure it's convenient for the person. Do everything in your power. Make sure you understand that the ball is in your court for making it happen.
Yeah.
It's the initial reach out is, hey, I would love to take you to coffee. I can make absolutely any time next week work for me. So you just give me the 15 minutes that works on your end and I'll come meet you there. And like, then when they give you an answer back, make sure that you meant absolutely anything will work for you, because maybe that vacation you had planned with your friends to Okoboji, or you're going to spend the afternoon in Sioux Falls with your family or something like that. That's off the table, because truly when you get into this industry, if you think that you want to be a videographer and you want to like be able to go on weekend trips whenever you want, you got to pick one, because the amount of last second shoots I get scheduled that really require me to go above and beyond time wise for clients is like uncountable. How many times have me and you even shot together where it's like, yeah, well, we're going to go to Kansas City for the weekend and go do a shoot. Like whatever was on my plate for that weekend is gone instantly.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's just about making it work for other people. Here, I'll give a very good example of this.
What's up?
When I really wanted to work for VaynerMedia, and if you haven't ever heard of that, like Gary
you
Vayner,
should know who VaynerMedia is.
Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V is like kind of the biggest name or thought leader in the social media video space, right? And so like I wanted to take my career to the next level, so I wanted to work on his team. I was willing to do whatever it took. And I sent him an email that like the subject line was like, time hack, responding to this one email will save you 15 minutes. Right. And like, it was a good subject. And I formatted it so that it looked like it was legit. Right. And as soon as you open up the email, I sold myself instantly. Like, these are the shoots that I've done. These are my accolades, made a video that did 50 million views, made a video that got a band to open up for Bon Jovi in Chicago, stuff like that. And then, in the third paragraph, I said, if you could either take the time to respond to this email, give me my answer if you will take a 15-minute meeting with me.
Are we saying this?
Or you're going to have to spend 30 minutes over the next month deleting every email I send you asking if you're going to be able, if you have the time for it, And it sounds like I'm being like an annoying douche when I say this, but it was like, that's kind of the whole vibe of his things are like, to shoot your shot, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I literally got it. I sent that, and I did it very consciously. I sent it at midnight on Sunday night. So it was the first email that would be in his inbox in the morning.
Yep.
And legitimately, the next morning at 6 a.m., I got, hey, meet me this time at this place. His office is in New York City. And without I confirmed with his assistant what time the meeting was going to be. And actually like a week before the meeting, when I already had all my plane tickets booked and I was poor as shit, so I booked like the non-refundable options. Gary was like, oh, he got booked on an Africa trip. So his assistant was like, we'll still be in the office. We'll still have like our content team for Gary in the office. And like, dog, I paid money. I put all of the money on a credit card to take this literally 15, 20 minute meeting opportunity to go to New York City. And I spent, it was probably $1,200 by the time I was all said and done between, you know, hotels, cabs, and airfare, and went and met with this team. And that turned into a job opportunity, like for real.
Yeah.
And then I also realized while I was out there that I don't like New York City that much. So I didn't move. And
dude, yeah.
And like, I honestly, like, from the time that I sent that email to the time about a month later, my career and my freelancing and personal branding stuff had like gone from I really needed to get in with an agency to I can do it on my own and make pretty decent money. So I ended up staying on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's an extreme case if you really want to hustle your ass off and make things happen, but that's not for everyone. You know, I have plenty of friends who do awesome work, and you know, there's people who just want to work for a production company or like a news outlet or a radio station. And that's totally fine, man. Like, do whatever it is you want to do. Like, I have so much more respect for people who do things that make them happy. Yeah. Compared to like, oh wow, well he only does like this small, you know, whatever. Yeah. It's like, no, dude, like if you're happy, man. That's what you should be doing. That's what everyone should be doing. So don't feel like you need to go to these extremes if you don't want to like freelance or like start your own business, you know. If you want to work for a production company, going back to the basics of what we talked about, just like reaching out to people and making yourself available to them is what you need to do. Yeah. Yeah. You know?
And I think it's good to have
don't you know, drain your bank account to go fly to, you know, Europe or something if you have something come up because you think that's what you need to do. But, you know, if that's something you really, really want to do, then dude, go for it, man.
I think that a big piece of it is finding what would make you happy, and spoiler alert, what you think is going to make you happy beforehand is generally not all it's cracked up to be. So we'll put a pin in that, and I want to go back to that. But find what you want to do, exactly what your dream life looks like when you're, you know, career-wise. Yeah. And then reverse engineer how you get to that. And make sure, in my position, or in my case, I've made very sure to put the roadmap to where I want to be through as few gatekeepers as possible. I don't rely on somebody going like, here is an opportunity that I gave you because I want you to have this opportunity. Like every opportunity I have had has been because I went around a gatekeeper and was like, I'm going to provide value, and I'm not asking for anything in return, but I would like to be hired by you guys or somebody in your industry someday. And it's not necessarily, you know, asking for something that I'm doing, I guess. And now pull the pin out of the happiness in what you do. And there's a guy who's a business life coach, you know, he comes at it from a very like spiritual standpoint. His name is Stephen Matthew Adams. You can find him on Instagram at Stephen Matthew Adams. And I believe that his book is called like The Path to Happiness or Finding Happiness, whatever the case may be. I read it. Just not good at the titles. But I had the chance to, one time when I was in New York City for a different shoot, he was actually meeting with a client that I was working with in New York, and we had about an hour and a half in the morning where the client wasn't going to be able to be there. And so we went and got breakfast out, sat in a park in, you know, New York City or in Manhattan, and we're able to talk for a while. And this is a guy who like is, you know, a sought after business coach, where people who are very successful want to talk to him and figure out how to find balance in their lives. And I talked to him about, just from my position, like when it comes to video and freelancing, like I've hit goal after goal after goal that I set, like big benchmarks and milestones that I wanted to hit career-wise. And basically, I'm sure you had this experience too, is like every time you hit one of those benchmarks, you kind of go, all right, now what? Like, it's kind of on to the next thing. And it like having that lack of even desire to celebrate your wins because they're not super exciting when it actually happens. Like kind of left me feeling really burnt out and going, is this what I want to do? If accomplishing everything that I want to accomplish isn't bringing me like gratification, then what's the point of doing it? Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, like he said something that I've really taken like throughout everything since. And he said, if you can't find happiness in the act of working, he said, you got to find what you define as happiness has to be a verb. You can't say, I want to have done this and that will make me happy. I want to have bought this thing and that will make me happy. You have to say like, your thought process has to be, I get to go out every day and make videos with people that I find interesting. And even if I don't find something interesting, I still get to go out and make videos every day.
Exactly.
And how many people around the world, number one, would pay to, would kill to live in a place with like indoor plumbing and heating and cooling, right? And then go on beyond that. How many people who have their first Canon T3i go, I want to be traveling and making videos and doing this kind of stuff for these cool clients. And then it makes you go, well, the 2 days I just bitched about having to fly and how much I hate flying around the country kind of gets put into perspective when you realize how many people would love to do what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to doing things that make you happy, my best work that people have the most recognized me at like for or like compliment me towards has all been work that I have loved doing.
Yeah.
And most of it, a lot of it has been just passion projects that I didn't get paid to do, but because I did them, it brought in other work.
Yeah.
Right. So really, because I mean, that first year in Denver, man, like I was making videos for anyone I could. And I got so burnt out because I was like, I would even be on set and be like, man, dude, like, this is not what I want to do, man. And I'm going to make something that this client is going to love. I've never had a client who's been unhappy with what I've delivered. But I've always looked at those products that I've delivered and been like, they're okay. They're, I haven't poured myself into them.
Yeah.
Like your best work will come from doing work that you care about and that you love and that you enjoy.
That's a good piece of advice for building your resume too.
Yeah.
Or your portfolio. Don't take the first job for the first shitty manufacturing client that offers you $150 to spend 10 hours making a video for them. Screw the $150. Take that 10 hours that you would have worked, expand it to 20, find a video that you want to make, even if it's not even including anybody else. Like you've done, I know that like the drone farm video packs and stuff like that, where it's, it's content that you didn't require anybody else to be helping you with basically. Or find a project of like somebody local that you think should have a documentary made about them or anything like that. Find something that you're passionate about, that you want to pour your energy into. That'll go so much farther for your resume or your portfolio than doing shitty, low paid work for clients and if a client is only willing to pay you $100 or $200 for their shoot, newsflash, the client doesn't give a shit about the video content and they're not going to be excited no matter how much you over deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're starting out, it is important to pick up some jobs that you don't necessarily care for just to pay the bills.
Yep.
But you need to look at it as I'm going to do this project that I don't really care about, so then I can spend 30 or 40 hours this week working on something that I am.
Exactly.
You got to be able to like balance things out. Passion projects are really important. Like I'm back in Iowa. We're going to be possibly doing some filming for my former college, UNI, and then I'm working on the feature film as well, filming. But I'm also working on my own little piece. Actually, I haven't told you about this, but my neighbor flies one of those little ultralights, like little one-man things.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to make a piece. He's lived in Iowa his whole life.
Your neighbor's got a death wish, dog.
And he's been flying for 40 years.
Yeah.
Or 20 years. He's been flying for 20 years. And I'm going to make a little project over him and like how his perspective has changed of his homeland once he started flying. That's cool. I'm actually spending money on renting an other ultralight so I can fly in the air while someone else is driving. I'm not flying, of course. It's a 2-passenger one, but so I can film him as he's flying. And I bought an extra 360 camera so I can mount to his plane. I'm not making any money from this trip or from this shoot, and I'm spending hundreds of dollars, which right now during the pandemic when work is a little slow, like, it's money I would like to keep and like not spend. But I just feel like, man, like I feel like sometimes when you have an idea in your head, you just gotta get it out and like make something with it.
Yeah.
And like I feel so after I make this video, like I'm gonna feel so great about this video. And you never know, work might pop up. I might have someone with like an actual plane and be like, hey, we need some filming from like a plane, like, you know, and we will pay you to do it.
Yeah.
So that's how you gotta look at things. Like do the passion projects while they're passion projects, and you know, expectation that they're gonna turn into paid shoots once you're already doing the work.
Yeah. Can't argue with that at all. A good example of something that I love that you did that was like kind of making the most of a situation in which you weren't able to get paid for something was right at the start of the pandemic and kind of the coronavirus shutdown was the video you made with the dancers in Denver. How did that whole project come out? And I'm going to maybe display it on the video, or maybe I'll just like link it in the description depending on how it works with the editing. So go ahead and explain a bit.
Yeah, so man, it's crazy. So the pandemic hit. I remember like right before it hit, I was like, this isn't really gonna affect me at all. Like, and then like literally the next week, I lost $42,000.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money. I mean, that's like more money than I made the previous year. Like I said, like I was like doubling my income year by year at this point, and I had just lost basically my entire income for the year. And I just, you know, obviously felt really down and defeated, and no one was doing any work. But I was like, how can I make the most of a situation? How can I make a situation that is an epic failure into a success? And I got to thinking, I've always wanted to make a video with dancers. I've never made a video with dancers. I just always thought something was really appealing about like
and we
the
should
motion.
Specify ballet dancers, not like exotic.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like ballet dancers, but we ended up doing it's called urban dancing. Yeah, because I had to ask them, like, what kind of dancing is this and whatnot.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was like, how can I make the most of a situation? Like, how can I turn something that's a failure or something that's, you know, chaotic into something that's beautiful? And I got to thinking, I heard this cover for like Mad World. I was like, oh my God, Mad World, like this is the Mad World right now. And then I started thinking and instantly thought like the dancers, and I'm like, this is like perfect timing. But I'm like, how can I put a timestamp on this video where people watch this video and they know for a fact it was during the pandemic? I mean, aside from empty streets, but you could always strategically film when streets are kind of empty.
Yeah.
So how can I like really make it show that this is like during timestamp, like during this time? And that's when I thought of the masks. So I hired someone to make me custom design masks. I wanted like I love collaboration with different artists. I know if I'm out of work, then all these other people are out of work.
Yeah.
So I want to bring as many people in as possible. So I started like I was checking hashtags on Instagram and like Twitter and like finding, like, I didn't know anyone. I was posting to Facebook groups, friends I knew, hey, can you guys reach out to anyone who is a dancer and give me their information? And I just hit up everyone. Everyone I worked with on that shoot was a complete stranger to me.
Wow.
I never met anyone, have never worked with anyone. And they were all like instantly. And that, you know, what's crazy is I reached out to like dozens of people, like a half dozen different Facebook groups of like dancers or like camera-based Facebook groups. And it got like a ton of different people's names and no one responded to me. You know, on Instagram, you can like see if they've seen the message.
Yeah.
They would see the message and no one would respond to me. And then I would like comment on their stories or comment on their last photo. Hey, they shot you a DM. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, man, it's just like, I know this is like a good idea. Like I really, really believe this is a good idea, but no one's hopping on board. And all of a sudden one morning, like 4 girls all hit me up and they were just like, yes, absolutely. Like we've been looking for something to do. We've been like cooped up in our homes. Like we're used to be like dancing and like being out and making art.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool art collaboration. And my whole point of making this video was I wanted to show the beauty and the madness. You know, I want to show it's tough times, but you can still make great art. And the whole another message I sent is, you know, with tough times comes great art.
Yeah.
Like you look into history and like during like depressions and like pandemics or like anything that's happened, like there's always been work that's being pumped out, like art. And you guys really, really, really wanted to showcase that.
talk
and
about
inspire people. I want to, not only inspire people who maybe just like have not much to look forward to because everything's just shit in the world,
mhm.
but I want to inspire other creators to like, you can still make cool things and you can still be creative. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Yeah. Uh, I think that a lot of people will make that video and say they made the exact video that you made, right?
Mhm.
Whereas same quality, same concept, all that stuff. And then they put it on YouTube and they go, well, son of a bitch, nobody watched it. All right, nobody ever watches the things I do because nobody ever cares. And look at this YouTuber who gets all this exposure. It's
Mhm.
bullshit. They're lucky, right? Explain the steps you went through to promote that video, because I know that it was a pretty interesting way that you did it and had good results.
Yeah, so I actually documented the whole process. So I just did like I didn't set up like a nice camera setup and lights and stuff. I just did like a kind of like a video log where I just used the camera on my laptop. Like,
Mhm.
this is what I'm going through. Like, this is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I had someone come shoot behind the scenes because I wanted to show the process. But when I released the video, while I'm filming, I would add stories to my Instagram. Like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and I would record the videos on my phone and then post them on Instagram. That way I could send the videos to other dancers and then they would share them to their Instagrams as well.
Mhm.
And then I would just take like a bunch of B-roll footage I shot with the drone of empty streets. And I started breaking it down into Facebook posts and Instagram posts saying like, hey, like this is what I'm working on. I explained it the same thing as I did to you earlier. I want to make something beautiful in this chaos.
Yeah.
And started promoting it. And I actually made a whole Excel spreadsheet of like, I think there was like 40 different, like either people or news sources or blogs related to photo, video, news, just general news.
Denver related things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Denver related things, even just like dancing related things. Like I found like different dance schools across the country who maybe just want to post something that's relevant to like
Dancing in the pandemic. Yeah.
maybe not that something that they did, but something that they'd be like, oh wow, like as a dancer, I can really appreciate this.
Yeah.
I reached out. I found like individual reporters and writers for NPR and CPR, Colorado Public News, like whole list,
Yep.
and blasted out to everyone. And actually, before I even sent it out to people, I had 2 people on that list who actually reached out to me. Somehow they saw it on social media.
Sick.
They're like, one of the news reporters was like, yeah, a friend of mine dropped this off on my desk this morning, and I saw it, and it was just like, we got to interview this guy.
Hell yeah.
So I really tried to tell people what I was up to and show them the process so they could anticipate when
The
it was going
actual
to come out.
product. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I really don't do this. I always feel kind of cheesy about doing this, but ask people to share.
Yeah. Right.
And you will not believe if someone who follows you and believes in you and sees your passion and how hard you work are willing to share your work.
Mhm.
I had so many people share those videos. Like
That's
one of my
awesome.
most shared pieces of content ever.
Nice.
And yeah, it was really, I had random people commenting on my Facebook and adding me or messaging me or emailing me or commenting on YouTube saying like, I cried during this. This was like so amazing. I needed to watch this. Thank you for inspiring me. And like, that feels pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get paid for any of that and that doesn't matter. But like just to be able to make something that gets an emotional like response to people.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And
It's a
that
great
piece
feeling.
of work, not only is it time stamped and it was relevant to the pandemic, and it showcased the city you live in, on and on and on. It was also just a great piece of content for the name Josh Berendes, Brendy Films. Like it's exactly what you want people to know about you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, the value to you as a filmmaker, the value to the people who were interested in it was like there and there. So
yeah, there is, one message I want to put out there is there is an opportunity in every failure.
Yeah.
Something happens and you're just defeated and crushed. Whether you can find it or not, sometimes you don't always find it. There's always an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I fail a lot. I don't always am able to find opportunities from those failures, but I try to find them. And you'd be really amazed at like what you can pull from a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, if you're trying to work for yourself, or even if you want to like go work for, you know, a production agency or whatever the case is, you're going to have 100 failures. And it's like kind of like the corniest thing that people say is like, you know, Abraham Lincoln was a failed lawyer, a failed senator, the X and X.
Michael Jordan has a really famous quote about like the amount of shots, game-winning shots he's missed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if you put any stock into all those failures beyond just like taking what you did wrong, learning from it and doing it differently the next time, then you're messing up. Like, you can't pay attention to the failures. And I kind of hate saying failures in the first place. I just consider it, I've learned 10,000 ways to not do things. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I figured out the way to do something, you know? I always have these ideas that I know are going to work, but I go about it in a very stupid way the first try at it. So I mean, I think that we've covered a ton of stuff here and we've given some pretty good insight. Is there anything that you want to add in before we take off?
No, I mean, like you said, we covered a lot. I mean, I would just want to reiterate, like, if you're just starting out, man, like, find people, and that's another easy thing too, is like, it makes things easier anyways, is like, find people who believe in you, whether maybe they don't do film or photography, but like having like a fan base. You know, it sounds corny because like, you know, you're not famous or anything, but you still have fans. Like, you still have people who see what you do and like comment, they see you in the streets and be like, oh, you know, I saw that picture you took last week. That was a really cool picture.
Yeah.
And, you know, find other people who not necessarily are doing the same things as you exactly, but someone who's following their passion. Because you guys can always rely on each other to help each other out. Right. And it's not about, you know, making connections all the time. It's more about like building relationships.
Exactly.
For sure. I mean, it is important to connect with people and just get your name out there as to many people as you can. But like, the best stuff comes from like people who go out of their way to help you. So you can't expect, you know, I don't expect anyone to help me, but I ask people for help all the time.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. You will not believe the amount of people who are willing to help you out.
Yeah.
One of the best advice one of my professors gave me, like before I left college, he goes, people from Iowa love to help other people from Iowa. So
the Iowa Illuminati. Yeah.
So like when you go out to Denver, research people who have moved out there from Iowa and say, you're from Iowa and I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I've had complete strangers reach out to me on Instagram and like, hey, I found this opportunity for you. Or, hey, I want to connect you with this person who would be really great for you to meet. And I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, feel free to ask help from people. Like, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. Does anyone know who I should connect with?
Yeah.
Who I should talk to? It's really amazing, the amount of people who have helped me along the way. I mean, even people who I partied with them back in Cedar Falls and like partied with them for like maybe like a year off and on. Like, I would see them. I've had some of those people still hit me up and be like, hey, I know so-and-so in Denver who owns a marketing company. You guys should meet.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like, wow. Last time I saw you, we were doing keg stands. And now you're helping me find work.
Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, I mean, you really be surprised the amount of people who are willing to help you. It's really incredible.
It's true. Especially like the Iowa connection is always a pretty good one to play on because everybody's pretty much
the Iowa nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
It's a real thing. Yeah,
I think that we kind of nailed it here. Where can people find you on social media?
Twitter and Instagram, Berendes Films, Berendes_films.
Dope. And
then YouTube, I mean, you could search Josh Berendes and I'll pop up.
Cool. And for me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as @TGroteX, so TGROTEX, or you can find me on YouTube at Honeywave Media and on Instagram at Honeywave Media. Check it out.
No TikTok?
No TikTok. I'm scared of the Chinese people hacking me, I guess, or whatever that we're supposed to be worried about on TikTok. And I just don't want to be. I feel like TikTok is just full of people doing really bad cheerleading, more or less. So, yeah. Until next time, this is the Sioux City Show. Thanks.
See you guys.